today. So every day we start fresh because we can't affect the past, but we damn sure can make a difference today.
Welcome back to episode 124 of Shop Talk. The team is back in action, both literally and figuratively. And by that, I mean Kari is back with me.
Hi guys.
It's been so long. Oh my gosh.
I know. I know.
But yeah, we're back discussing 709, which was a emotionally heavy episode, I feel like.
hmm
Yeah, it was really good though. And it was a good episode to come back from like after 2 weeks off, like obviously the mid-season premiere. So, but first, because we haven't really talked about the rookie because I've wanted to save it for the podcast,
I know.
but like, what do you feel? Like, how are you feeling about the season? Like the new rookies? I mean, we're halfway through season 7
I
already.
know there's so much. I mean, like, honestly, like it was kind of funny that like this episode, like the new rookies like weren't actually in it. And I was
Yeah,
kind of like, oh, I kind of like miss them in a way. But then like in other ways, I'm kind of like, it was fine. Like keep it within the team, like the main group, because it's like we're dealing with a lot this episode. But like I've liked the rookies. I've liked seeing, Chenford have to, both be training officers. I mean, listen, I have like feelings about Seth mostly just because it's like, oh my gosh. I mean, like Patrick does like such a good job because like he seems like such a, like
sunshiny
lovely
human.
human
Yeah.
being. Yeah. But then it's like his character, I'm just like, I want to like wring his neck a little bit. I'm like, come
Hmm.
on now. Like it drives me
Yeah.
nuts. Um, and then like I don't know like how Derek does like I mean I guess since he's from what New Orleans originally
Yeah.
like the southern like drawl kind of comes naturally I suppose but just like I love anything like people with like the accents and stuff
Yeah.
like that's so fun. So I've loved his character. And but yeah, I mean I've liked them a lot. I've liked that we've also gotten like more like more Smitty, more like other character,
Hmm.
and we finally did get Jason after the like build up of like,
Yeah.
3 or 4 episodes with him. Like, where is he? Where is he? Where is he?
Yeah.
Um, and so like we've gotten, some return characters, including the Feds characters, which I adore.
Yeah.
And so like that's been really fun too. So it's like, I mean, overall been like a solid, good first half of the season. And like, I can't wait to see where they continue to go because like obviously even like the promo for next week's is like wild.
Yeah.
Like
Like
just that they
Smitty's like in danger.
yeah, I know, poor Smitty. Oh my God.
I don't like that for him, but also like I know he's gonna kill it. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
It'll give us good Smitty moments, which I feel like we've had, but like I also feel like we're kind of lacking this season so far. So
hmm
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I was rooting for Seth in the beginning, but no, not anymore. And especially after he lied straight to Chenford's face. I was like, bro,
Right.
no.
Well, and
No.
it's like I get it. Like there's I mean, because yes, there is a lot of anxiety and like I myself, since like I am a generally more anxious person than the normal individual, like I get it. It can be stressful and like jobs and things, but it's
Yeah.
like if you've made that like critical of a mistake, like you need to own up to it like ASAP. And he just
Yeah.
didn't do that and hasn't been doing that. And so it's
Right.
like, no wonder Lucy's, suspicious of him. No wonder even now, Tim's gonna be on his radar too. So it's like he's just really got to get himself together.
Yeah. Well, and it's not like he's working like a, light job, like a
Right.
desk job or something. Like, no, he's literally out saving lives. Like, you can't just lie about things like that. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see where he goes. But I love Patrick so much. Like, he's just such an awesome person, it seems like, that I'm just like, I don't want you to be a bad guy.
Right.
But at the same time, like, that gives the drama. So. I still think it's weird though that we haven't seen like anything about his home life and we're 9 episodes in. Like
Mhm.
7 really with him there, but like 9 episodes in, and we have not
Mhm.
seen a single shred of his home life.
That's true.
To me,
Yeah.
that's kind of weird, but
hmm
I don't know. Leads to the suspect of it all. So
Yeah.
So we'll start off with some news. We do have a couple of episode descriptions. Next episode is titled Chaos Agent. And John, Lucy, and Angela investigate the suspicious stabbing of three teenage girls. Back at the station, the team experiences technical difficulties while managing a group of prisoners and wild animal. I need to know this wild animal
Right?
because they've had what, the crocodile or whatever on before?
Yeah. Yeah, that was Cupcake. And then I know there was something else that like I just can't think of. It's like
Yeah,
I can picture it, but I can't think of what it was
yeah.
from before, like even before um Cupcake. And so like they've had experiences before, but it's just like they showed the prisoners obviously
hmm
in the preview or the promo.
And Smitty gets his gun taken.
Yeah. Hmm.
Such a Smitty thing, honestly. But then to see like blood running down his face, I was like, oh, that's really not good.
I know, like he
Really
gets
not good.
attacked and then his gun is gone and it's just like it's a whole mess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Do you want to take us through 7-Elevens?
Yeah, so that one's called Speed, and the description is that John and Celina find themselves in a hostage situation while undercover for a public safety initiative. While Angela and Nyla investigate the suspects, Tim challenges Lucy's decision-making skills. So that'll be not next week, but the week after.
Yeah.
And people are saying that that's like related to her, like sergeant's, wanting to take the sergeant's exam and
Oh, yeah.
things. Like I know that's been like theorized on Twitter a little bit, and I'm like, I don't know, because I don't know like exactly if that's, like she had mentioned it, but it's nothing, like set in stone, like this is
Yeah.
actually going to happen for her.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, it'll definitely be, because we've had Chenford banter this season,
hmm
um, you know, really, really well. So it's like I maybe it'll be more of that. I don't know. Or if it will
Yeah.
actually cause like a, professional rift for them in the episode or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Because I mean, like, the rookies will be back, I'm sure.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like, is it decision making skills about Seth or is it about the test overall, like the sergeant? But yeah, like you said, like she never really said like when she's taking it. It's not like she
Mhm.
was saying, oh, in a month, like I'm gonna take that or anything. But
Yeah.
yeah, it'll be interesting. And Nyla's back on the job. So I
Mhm.
wonder if like next week's episode, like we see a clip of her or whatever, like at home helping James. Like I wouldn't think she would be back in next week's
Yeah.
episode, but maybe,
Yeah. I
you
don't
know.
know.
Yeah. So we have a couple of episode descriptions, and then there was a TV Insider after show with Nathan and Damian Holbrook from TV Guide and TV Insider. And he was talking about the final scene with Nyla and John and talking about Makia's talent, and he was like, we can't forget the antagonistic relationship that was there when she first arrived. Like she was angry, cut off, guarded, like, and she's grown a lot. So the journey she's made, the character development, and I'm just like, dang, yeah, she has been making like big strides. And it's not like in one episode, like we've seen it over time. So
Mhm.
and then Nathan was also saying it was good to see Nolan be vulnerable with a coworker and to be able to see her not really receive it until she hugs him. Like she's kind of holding that back. And then when she gives him the hug, like she can release it in a way. And so Nathan also said that John really looks up to Nyla and, admires and respects her. And that was, part of like the whole speech at the end too. And the last thing he wants to do is cause her pain. So, yeah, which we saw when he was like, no, I knew about the kiss, and it was just like eating me up inside. I'm like, okay.
Mhm.
Um, and then Nathan talked about the chase sequence through the like TV set, and Damien had asked if they created it or if it was a live set. And apparently it was done between two sound stages that they used, like the one in between Lucy's apartment and the hospital scene. So they didn't have to build like the background of the set that Connor was hiding in, but it is stuff that they use all the time, which was really cool to like hear and see because I just
Mhm.
figured it was like some random empty set, like, on the
Yeah.
sound stage.
Mhm. Yeah.
So. Nathan also talked about how John's become a family man, and he said that the job for Nolan, and his marriage are going really smoothly, which a few episodes it wasn't going so
Right.
smoothly. So when he said
Yeah.
that, I was like, really?
I guess he means like from now on,
Yeah,
hopefully.
maybe. But then like we know that all this stuff is gonna come back. So I'm like, is it gonna keep going smoothly? I don't know. And then Nathan like gave credit to Jenna and said she's really sharp, and he goes off and like thinks of different things, and she's always right there with him, like ready to kind of go with what he's thinking about. So and Nathan also talked about like how it's been to play someone who's outgrown getting himself in trouble at times, which that I don't know, because he still gets himself into trouble. Like he
Yeah.
still does.
I mean, honestly, it's more like even like his own actions like snowball and then other people follow his lead, which then gets them in trouble. So it's
Yeah.
like his actions have now caused this reaction of other
Yeah.
people getting into trouble
Yeah.
indirectly
Like a
because of
few
him.
episodes ago when Celina was like, "No, like it was actually on me."
Right.
And John was like, "No, it wasn't." Um So Nathan had said the stakes are constantly there or consistently there. You never know what's going to happen. But he said like it also doesn't have to rest heavily on his shoulders. And as an actor, that's nice. Obviously, they have a great cast of characters that they can bounce from and like kind of give different storylines to. Um, which I feel like we've seen a lot more of. Like it's been a lot more Lucy, Angela, Nyla, like different storylines for different people that kind of draw out a couple of episodes. So, and then Nathan also teased how bad it will get for Bailey and John when her past comes back. And he said he thinks it's going to be refreshing that we won't be right about what they're upset about. And what's really going on runs a little bit deeper. And so he said, as the season goes on, we're going to revisit some villains that we've met in the past. Bridget comes back, and Matthew Glaive, which I mean, I feel like we all just kind of knew that and just kind of assumed anyway. So, yeah. Do you want to take us through the TV guide interview?
Yeah, so Nathan also had an interview with TV Guide and he um thinks that Nolan has evolved a lot over the years and that he's doing something that he feels is meaningful with his profession and that seems to also be reflected too in his relationship and now his marriage with Bailey. And he thinks that he's like Nathan thinks that Nolan is a happier person because he is more fulfilled in his life. And he also had said that Nolan and Bailey, truly care about each other. Bailey is not how Nolan's first marriage was, where he was kind of cornered into it, but this is something that they've both chosen and they both came from unhappy marriages. And so now that they're in a happy one, it's something that's important to both of them because it's like true to who they are. And now they're building something together as a
Yeah.
couple. Um, and then Nathan also said that, if there would be any fallout with what happened with Jason, if you pull at the threads. The sweater will unravel, apparently, is the analogy he used. And so, like, drama has to happen. So, I'm gonna assume that that means that we might see something, but it might be interwoven into something else, or it might just
Yeah.
be right in front of our faces. And, like,
Yeah.
we won't, it'll just kind of be like, bam, right in our face. Like, I don't really know exactly what that means. But I mean, I was kind of wondering that too, though, honestly. Like, if there was going to be something else
Yeah.
from all this mess with Jason. So,
Yeah. Because they kind of just like hugged at the end, and I was like, okay, so where are we going from here? Like
right,
that's it. And now they seem fine. I'm like, we had those 3 episodes though. Um,
right.
I wonder if it'll really come back though when Oscar comes back, because like he was the last one to see
That's true.
Jason like alive.
Yeah. Well, that and they haven't actually caught him, right?
Mhm.
So, like, he's still out there running amok, like
Yeah.
doing God knows what. Like, I don't know.
And there's like no mention of him. So like where are we supposed to assume that he's at? Like just sitting like in a park or something? Like I don't
Yeah, I
know.
don't know. Or maybe that's how maybe like him and Monica have like actually formed this alliance and then
Yeah.
like somehow are like gonna cause havoc later. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so apparently looking ahead into the second half of the season, Nathan said that Nolan will continue to be a TO and pass his wisdom down to the other rookies. And obviously Monica and Oscar will be back, as we've said. Um, this is so funny. This is like my favorite part of like any interview that he's done is this mention
Uh-huh.
of if they'll ever share that Nolan and Lucy dated like with Tim. And like
Mhm.
Melissa, Eric, and Nathan have discussed this fact, and they kind of think that Tim probably still doesn't seem to know that Nolan and Lucy dated in the first season. Nathan's pitch, apparently, for them addressing this is that in 8 years' time, when they're wrapping up the whole series, which that was like so specific. I was like, how are
Mhm.
you pulling this number out of a hat or something? Like,
Yeah. And also like, yeah, why are we giving it a number? Don't.
right?
It's
Yeah.
going on infinitely in my
Yeah.
mind.
And so, like when they're wrapping up the whole series, in the very last scene, it slips out that they dated, and Tim's like, I'm sorry, you dated? And they answer with, yeah, and then it cuts to black and the show's over, apparently. That's his idea, which I mean, I could kind of see that, but then in all honesty, I could also see his comments being flooded by angry fans too, if that were to happen,
Yeah.
because it's like you need like more than just that.
Yeah. Like when I first read that, I was like, no, I would like to see it like maybe the final season.
Yeah, or like the
Even
end of an
now, like,
episode, but not the end of
yeah.
the whole thing.
Yeah. No, like I mean, heck, I would even like to see it now. But like I need Tim to like roast them, be like, I still can't believe you guys dated. Like, what did you ever see in this guy? Or whatever it is. Like, I need that. I don't want it to just be the last like 2 minutes of the episode
Yeah.
ever. And I'm like, so that's where we left off. I mean, not that like they were a huge ship to begin with. Like they were
No.
they were that, but yeah,
Right.
I don't know. I need it to be more than just like the last 2 minutes of the show ever. They're like, yeah, so we dated. I'm like, no.
Right. Yeah, well, especially since it's like Tim and Nolan, presumably, depending on what timeline you want to follow with like ages of all these characters, like
Yeah,
are closer in age, and obviously like Tim and Lucy are, and especially Nolan and Lucy are very different in age. So it's like, how far can Tim exactly go to like, like get a jab in at Nolan when
yeah,
like he's obviously like older than Lucy too. So it's
yeah,
like that would be funny to like kind of see and just I don't like there's so much you could do with that. So
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if they want to save for the last season, fine. Love that idea. But yeah, don't save for the last episode. Because like we've all been wanting it. I mean, just give it to us. So yeah. And then Nathan and Jenna were both on Live with Kelly Mark, and then Nathan was also on Good Morning America within the last week, like separately, just to discuss the show. So it was similar to all the interviews that they've done,
Mhm.
more so for Nathan, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was pretty cool to see them like on TV. And Nathan talked about like going and seeing the rookie like billboard in
Yeah.
Times Square and stuff. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's fun.
Yeah. Well, and Lisette saw it too, like when she was
Mhm.
just in New York just for whatever. And so like that
Yeah.
was pretty cool.
I would go to New York solely just to see the billboard and take a picture in front of it. Like,
Right.
yeah, like that's my show. That's my favorite show up there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll just jump right into the episode. So 709, we're picking up right where we left off with the whole James and Nyla. Like James getting shot, Celina finding them. And while someone's helping James, Celina goes over to help Kylie. Like that's just her first instinct.
Mhm.
And Celina calls Grace. They're all going to the hospital, and she tells them that it's looking really bad for James. And Gray's like, all right, well, I just have to go tell Nyla. And so he like knocks on the locker room door, and Angela's like, whatever it is, the other shift's gonna have to do it because we're going home. And Gray's like, Nyla, it's James. He's been shot. And her face and Angela's look over to Nyla. Oh my God, heartbreaking right there. So we see Chenford like walking through the hospital with something to help with the smoke inhalation that they got from going under that shelter. And they see James getting wheeled in along with Kylie and Celina following behind. And Nyla and Angela come in and Nyla runs right to his side, but like they have to take him to the OR immediately because the bullet's still in him, and take care of a couple of other things. So Chenford is by Nyla's side as they roll him off, and then they, look back over at Kylie, and Nyla's like, I know her, but not well. And so Nyla, like, the next time we see her, she's sitting in a separate room, and John brings her coffee and something to eat. He's like, it's not the best, but here. And so he gives her an update on the kids, and we get a Lila mention.
Yeah.
I feel like it's been so long, but she's with Donovan, the boys are with their mom, and Leah is staying with Lopez for as long as she needs. So I'm assuming that they had all four kids with them,
Hmm.
like before all of this happened. Because like, why would we need the like?
Yeah.
I'm glad that we got the update, but like, if the boys were already with their mom, like it's fine.
Yeah.
And but I'm like, but they were just dealing with a wildfire and Nyla was getting glassers. So like they had all four kids and they were doing their jobs. That's crazy. That's like
Yeah.
some boss moves right there.
Hmm.
Which I kind of laughed because I mean, I know that they have Sydney as the babysitter, but when John was like, Leah's staying with Lopez for as long as she needs, I'm like, Angela's at work and Wesley is like coming and going. So like she's not really with them, but
Right.
she's with their babysitter. So
Right.
yeah. So Nyla's like, what do the kids know? And John's like, nothing yet. Like that can wait until tomorrow. And Nyla asks John if James is gonna be okay. And he's because he looked really bad. And John's like, I mean, I've seen a couple of people survive this, and Nyla's like, pretty sure you're lying to me, but thank you. Like, I don't mind.
Right.
Um, and so he reminds her that James is in good hands. The team is outside ready to help. And Angela's the lead investigator. And what Nyla needs is like for whoever did this to be behind bars. So Wesley comes in, gives Nyla a hug. When I asked for more Wesley and Nyla scenes, this is not what I meant.
Right. That was me with like seeing like all of them together, like out in
Yeah,
the hospital, like main area. I was like,
yeah,
when I wanted more group scenes, this isn't really what I meant.
yeah. I was like, no, this is too hard. Like when they were sitting together later, I was like, this is not what I meant right here. But okay. And he pulls Nolan to the side for a minute, and I thought that we were going straight to the scene where he's like, so this kiss, like you cannot tell her, but we kind of wait on that for a little bit. So Angela tells Gray that they're still processing the unification center, but that they know the shooter is Connor Lowe. And Gray's like, I know that name. And Angela says that they've units kicking in doors as they speak, and there's no sign of him so far. So they're checking known associates. His face is out to every law enforcement agency in the state, like he can't hide for long. So Gray asks if there's any theories, like for motive, and Angela tells them about Kylie. And when, like, that's when John and Wesley come in and they're like, yeah, it could be jealousy. And Angela's like, what? And so John tells them about the kiss. And Angela and Wesley kind of start bickering that James wouldn't cheat. And, Harper and James, are fighting and all the time and stuff. And Wesley's like, the defense will argue that Nyla knew about the affair and had Connor kill her husband and his mistress. And even Gray's like, that's a stretch. Like that, the jury's not gonna believe that because it's some random criminal to get the job done. Like they didn't even know each other. And Wesley's like, well, Nyla arrested Connor 18 months ago on a gun charge. And Angela's like, how long did you know about this kiss? I'm like, right now, I don't need you two fighting. Don't fight. Like I need one solid set of my fictional TV show parents to not fight.
Yeah.
Like, please. I know that they like to fight to get the job done, but like, no, not right now. And Wesley's like a few hours, but the world was on fire. So, it wasn't really the right time to say anything. And
Mhm.
I'm just like, yeah, Wesley's in the right on that.
Yeah. Once again,
So,
though, that's technically John's fault because he was the one that like literally walked up to Wesley and was like, "Hey, I gotta like tell you something." And he's
yeah,
like, "Why? What? Like, what is
yeah.
this?"
John was acting like that was like his entire ordeal that day. I'm like, there's an
Right.
actual wildfire happening.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty sure this is like least on the totem pole right now. But he did have the chance to tell Angela, And
Right.
she like, it was just kind of a hypothetical. Um, so Nyla's the spouse, so she's automatically a suspect. And Gray's going to handle the investigation into her involvement and tells Angela that they need to find Connor and get a confession. So Wesley has to give the DA an update, and Gray has John work with him. And, he reminds John that, like, he can't tell Nyla what he saw. And, because she's a suspect. And so Gray's, like, deciding what and when she knows things. So Chenford walks up to Angela, giving her an update, and they've leaned on a few CIs and even think that they have motive for the shooting, mentioning the Phoenix room where Kylie works and that there was a shooting there last week where a member of the Rolling 60s was shot and killed. And they're like, we've confirmed Kylie was there that night. Like it could just simply be this. And so they think she saw something which tracks the altercation before the shooting. Um, but whatever she said to Connor, could have made him come back to try to kill her. And Angela's like, yeah, we need you guys out there looking for Connor. And so we see Gray going in to talk to Nyla. And he doesn't have any news on James, unfortunately, but he tells her that there's something that they need to discuss. And he tells her that they've identified the shooter, the motive is unclear, and she knows that they have to rule her out. And she's like, I know what this looks like as me as a suspect, and I'll sign anything that you need me to sign and anything like that. And so he asks her how she's holding up, and she's like, I can't remember the last thing I said to him. I was just so focused on getting Glasser, and like we barely even saw each other the last couple of weeks. So he reassures her that James is going to wake up and she's going to be able to tell him everything that she needs to. And right there, I was like, don't mess with me. Like, don't tempt me with anything. Like, don't force, like, and so Gray and Nolan are searching James and Nyla's house, and John comes across some pictures. And it has nothing to do with the shooting, but there's a picture of James with some guys and Leonard Kelsey, who is a anti-police extremist. Um, So Gray says that Kelsey does more than just protest. He has a warrant for his arrest for burning up a bunch of cop cars in December. And so looking at the date on the photo, it's taken 6 weeks ago, which means he invited a known fugitive into their home. And Harper is a whole new problem to deal with. One, okay, I get it. That's James's like work, his livelihood is to, watch out for the community.
Right.
But you're inviting a fugitive into your house where like you have a baby and three other, older children, and your wife is a cop. I feel like that is a problem. Like,
Yeah.
isn't there anywhere else he could have invited him? I don't
I
know.
mean, but I feel like that's like always kind of been their like relationship though, is like
True.
he like helps these people that are so on the, I don't even know what the word I'm looking for is like the outskirts of like, society and like towing the line between their legit criminals and then
Hmm.
like people that like really need his help and
Yeah.
like so I feel like he's just always done that. I feel like it's just become more relevant now that they're both like in this situation where
Yeah.
they're all their activities being scrutinized, I think.
Yeah.
At least that's just my 2 cents. I don't know.
Yeah. Because we've seen it like throughout the season so far. I'm just
Yeah.
like, surely he knew that he was a fugitive, but okay. Um, and so Nolan and Gray meet up with Angela for an update, and Connor's abandoned his car at this point, so now he's on
Mhm.
foot. And Kylie's still in surgery, but it doesn't look good, and then James's condition is still unknown. So Angela's like, I know you guys didn't find anything at the house connecting Nyla to Connor, but I need that good news officially, because like right now I just need something. And so Nolan shows her a picture of James with Leonard Kelsey. And Nolan's like, I'm gonna reach out to North Hollywood and see where they stand on the case. And Gray's like, remember, we have to keep this between us. Which Gray, like, you telling them that is all fine and dandy, but it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Because
Yeah. Well,
88,
especially with what happens later.
yeah, because 88 Ecker, which I already don't like her. I want her to just go away.
Right.
Um,
Well, I'd forgotten that she was the person that was like the other, person in the DA's office anyway with
mhm,
Wesley and Sean
yeah,
Del Monte. I had forgotten that because I was like, have we seen this woman before? I don't even know, but apparently we have. So
yeah. One episode, it was like a while ago, I feel like.
Mhm.
Was it 3 or 4? I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very, very early on.
So she shows up and Gray like meets with her in the office and she's got the picture of James and Leonard Kelsey. And I'm like, how did you already have this? Like,
Right.
okay. And so Gray says that it was listed in their search warrant receipt, and he's assuming that's how she learned about it. Which like does she just have updates going like constantly on this like whole case? Because she like
Possibly.
knows about it like right away.
I know she's so dialed in, it's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
I'm honestly like I mean I get it. Like she needs to, but
Right.
so she says that Wesley recused himself because he's too close, which yeah, that makes sense. But I'd rather have Sean Del Monte there.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I was just kind of like, okay. So then Gray reassures her that James's relationship with Kelsey is concerning, but not relevant to the shooting investigation. So she questions the investigation into Harper and Gray and or into Harper, and Gray tells her that she knows as well as he does that there's nothing there. But she's like, you're biased. You need to like, you know, change your confirmation bias. Like, otherwise this isn't gonna look good for you either. So she also mentions the kiss between Kylie and James, and Gray reminds her that there's only evidence of a single kiss. Um, and Gray's like, I think your theory is garbage, but we're following every lead and doing our due diligence. And she tells him that she's keeping a close eye on this investigation, making sure that the department isn't any more compromised than it already is. Um, and then we go over to 88 Eckert meeting with Nyla, and she shows her the picture of James and Leonard Kelsey, and I was like, I've never seen it before. And she's like, do you know if James knows where Kelsey is hiding? And Nyla's like, if I didn't know about the picture, why would I know about that? And she's like, you can ask James when he wakes up. And then this Eckert like alludes to the kiss without actually saying it. She's like, well, he was caught in an intimate moment with someone.
Right.
And I was like, what are you talking about? And Eckert's just like, she wants to keep going, and Nyla's like, no, I want my union rep here. And Eckert's like, no, that's not gonna happen because he's the witness who saw the moment happen and found the photograph. And at this point, I'm like, okay, I understand Wesley recused himself. He's too close. I feel like John should have definitely been taken off the case.
You think so? That's a fair point.
Like
I
he
didn't
was the
consider that, but
witness
yeah.
and he's her union rep. Like the moment that they knew she was a suspect, he should have been taken off that case.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. And does she have another union rep that she can go to in case like John's not available for some reason?
I know that was like my other thought. I was like, well, dang, the first like time Nolan could really use his union rep status, he like
Mhm.
actually can't because he's too involved. I'm like,
Yeah.
wow. So is there someone else? I don't know. It's a good question.
Which I know that they needed like all hands on deck. So like it made sense for Nolan to like stay on board with all this. But I'm like,
Mhm.
at this point, you should have taken him off. Because like this man is a walking conflict of interest.
Very
Like,
true.
um, so Gray walks into Eckert and Nyla talking in that room, and he pulls 88 Eckert Vivian out of the room, reminding her she can't question one of his officers without following protocol. And she's like, I just want to know how much she knows about the facts. Clearly, she doesn't know much, and you're just like
Right.
giving her everything.
Mhm.
And so Gray's like, did you read her Miranda rights or the Liebarger warning or anything like that? And he's like, what did you really do? And she's like, reminding him that they're fresh off a corruption scandal and it's not their first, which, what were the other ones? Did we see them?
I mean, I guess technically, if you want to say that, like, Armstrong was probably one, like,
Yeah,
all the way back then, possibly. I mean, like, the thing, with that like one officer that was like had cases or like possibly the Elijah thing because then that like kind of
yeah,
threw like the DA's office and in that too, so she probably didn't want something else to fall back
yeah.
specifically on them.
Maybe the
Those are the
Talia
only
stuff
ones I can really
too.
think of. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just kind of like, Okay, were there others that we saw and I'm just not remembering it?
I mean, I guess you could include Stan in that, I suppose, just like
Yeah,
being the racist son of a bitch he was. Like that
yeah,
didn't help anything.
yeah. They just weren't really like played out like this one was.
Yeah.
So Eckert's like, Harper's husband was mysteriously gunned down with his lover, and then we find out that they're harboring a fugitive. And I'm just like, all right, you need to calm down.
Yeah,
One,
she just like throws words around for the sake of talking, and I'm like, can
yeah,
you just shut up, please?
yeah. She's the definition of a boss who like doesn't really know what she's talking about, but she's just gonna like speak just to
Yeah,
make it seem like it. I'm like, one, they weren't lovers. Like it
no,
was a kiss.
yeah,
It wasn't anything major. And two, like we don't know if they're harboring a fugitive. Like I
right.
just calm down. And so they go at it a little bit more, and Eckert's like, you need to go in and put her on admin leave, or you're gonna be the next cop that I'm investigating. And Nyla can hear all of this because the walls are thin. And so, he walks back in and she's handing him her gun, and he's like, I'm not asking you to. And she's like, no, but I'm doing it anyway because I know that, like, we have to keep up appearances, and if the public can't trust us, then, we lose everything. And so he promises that they'll get to the bottom of this, and she's like, you better, because I don't have a fallback career. Yeah, because she already demoted herself basically, like when she first
Mhm.
started. So
Yeah.
then Nyla asks Gray what the intimate moment was that James was involved in, and he tells her that it was a kiss, and he's like, beyond that, I don't know. Um, and so Nolan walks up to Gray at the station with the news, and he's like, I've tracked down the other two guys in the photo, and according to them, they're both adamant that Kelsey is innocent. And we don't have proof, but they believe that the fire was set by a white supremacist group, militia group, intent on discrediting their movement. And so Nolan says if Kelsey is innocent, Eckert can't charge James with aiding and abetting or Harper with fraternizing with a fugitive. So that's kind of wiping that theory clean. Um, so I guess North Hollywood like basically decided on Kelsey's social media posts based on those that he was guilty. And Gray's like, go back over their investigation and let Gray know when he gets anything tangible. So Nyla is pacing the family waiting room, and Wesley comes in, and he's hoping to join her. And I love that he's still in a suit with his briefcase.
Yeah.
Like anytime this man shows up, he's not even working the case. He's still in a suit.
Right.
I mean, I guess
Yeah.
because he still has other work that he's doing, but I'm just like,
Hmm.
this man, like, I'm convinced that all he owns is like suits with
Yeah.
maybe the occasional like zip up hoodie in there. I don't know.
Hmm.
So. So he asks if there's any word on James, and it turns out that they finished one surgery and then started another, and they just kept finding other things wrong. And so she's like, I've lost track of everything that was broken and wrong. And so she tells him that he knows about the kiss. She knows he knows about the kiss. And there's a fugitive photo. And she's like, well, James cheated on me. Like, I know that you guys have your bro code. I know that you're best friends, but like, you're friends with me too. And Nyla is like slowly but surely just losing it. And he's just as shocked as her. And about the photo, not so much. But about Kylie, like, no, he's never talked about her. He's never expressed anything but absolute devotion to Nyla. And that relieves her. And he's like, you'll get through this. Like, I know that it's hard right now. And then he like gives her a little shoulder bump. And I'm like, so cute. So
Yeah.
cute. I
Yeah.
also need a scene next week of Wesley and James just like broing it up. Like, dude,
Hmm.
you really gave us a scare or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
I need a scene with them next week,
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
know?
Especially since this was like so emotion driven and like
Yeah.
the music too, the sad music over top of these like
Yeah.
scenes too. And I was like, okay, that's too much. I'm done. Can't do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like, I mean, we don't really see the like side or, kind of recurring characters in peril or anything. Like,
Right.
we haven't really seen Wesley like that. Knock on wood, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see,
Not in a while anyway. Yeah.
yeah, not for a while. But, to see Nyla and Wesley both sitting there going through individual emotions and be like, wow, so like James isn't just her husband. Like this is affecting Wesley too, because they're best
Mhm.
friends, you know, and like this is affecting
Yeah.
like James isn't just another cop. Like he's yes, he's a like this is affecting the rest of the station, but it's really affecting these two. And so to see them kind of like sit in that moment and like share that, I don't know. I just loved it. I loved it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I need to see a moment with Wesley and James and be like, dude, what happened? Or, you know, something like that. So, so Nolan like walks into Gray's office with something tangible. And I love how Gray was like, that's not tangible. Like, we know that dude. And Nolan's like, wait, I'm getting to it. I'm like, can you hurry it up? Like, I don't know. So he's got a video from the night of the firebombing, and which like when they were talking about the firebombing, I was like, how did we get here? Like I thought we were just investigating the shootout. I don't know. So they have a suspect like in mind, and he's got a gray sweatshirt on. That's the one that they arrested. And you know, no one's like Kelsey was in a gray sweatshirt, but the police shop that they're standing next to. It's exactly 70 inches tall, and Kelsey is 5'10". And Graves says if that was Kelsey, his head would be in the picture. So that guy in the video is at least 6'2". So Nolan says that another man who was wearing a black hoodie but with gray sleeves was caught on camera too. And no one's got his name, height, and weight. And the video shows him before the bombing with a backpack and after the bombing without a backpack. And then Nolan like swipes to the picture of the backpack that was left at the scene, and it's all the same backpack. So the name of the suspect is Brock Schohausen, and he's got 6 counts of assault on an officer with great bodily injury. So Gray's like, all right, I'll call SWAT. No one's like, I got a better idea that might be safer. So John meets Brock Schohausen at the hospital. And like this guy just like willingly comes in, which I think is kind of odd. I mean, I get it. Like he's worried about his dad, quote unquote, because that's what he was told. But like if an officer's calling you and you've been like suspect of this, you're just like willingly going in and not thinking anything of it. I don't know. I was like,
Yeah.
all right. I mean, I guess it's got to work. But I
But
was just,
Nolan's so endearing.
mhm.
So you gotta trust John Nolan.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, you got to figure that he had said, like, oh, well, you know, your dad was in a car accident or whatever. I'm the responding officer. Like, he had to have known that he was meeting up with the police officer. So, yeah. So Schauhausen knows right away that his dad's not there. And Nolan's like, yeah, you're under arrest for arson and detonating an explosive device. And so they're in this elevator and they're like surrounded by 3 more officers who are like MMA fighters or something. And,
Mhm.
you know, Nolan's like, you could try to fight, but it won't last long in here.
Yep.
So John puts the cuffs on him, and that's about it on the whole Brock thing. And so Angela, like, we see her meet up with this George who's affiliated with Connor and his gang. The thing, like this part of the storyline, I was just kind of like, wait, how did we get here? Who is this guy? And then it's later explained. And she's like, you know, it's spiraling out of control, might alert the rolling 60s, you know, that they were behind the Phoenix room shooting. And the guy's trying to play it off. George is trying to play it off. And Angela's like, I don't care about your beef. Like, I really don't. I just want to find Connor. And he questions why he would help her with that. And she's like, because you need to take him off your board before he makes another desperate move and there's like an all-out war. So she gets his location, radios Nolan with it, with Connor's location, and Chenford and Roland walk through the Paramount lot, which we see. And there's like other actors there, a tour is going on in the background, and they're just walking through the lot.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm sitting there watching that, and I'm like, that had to have been so wild for them to film, and wild
Very
for like
meta.
the tour to see.
Yeah.
I've never been on a tour like that, but I want to. But it just had to have been so wild. So apparently Connor's cousin is a security guard on the lot, and that's where he's laying low on the set of a TV show that's on hiatus. And Lucy's like, what TV show is it? The questions I would ask, honestly.
So true.
If I was in that position, I'd be like, so what show is it? Like what set are we going on? And
Yeah.
Tim's like, I don't know and I don't care, but he's gonna be armed, so we need to be like heads on a swivel. And so they search through this TV set, hearing an audience and actors on one side, and sounds like it's right there. And so Connor jumps and like he runs and jumps through a quote unquote window, and shots are fired, and Tim ends up taking him down, which during this, I was like, I swear to God, if Nolan ends up taking this guy down and like not wins, but like kind of, like this whole like, oh my gosh, come on.
Well,
Like,
because like he fell down, right? He like fell down on some like plant or tree or some
yeah,
shrub or something. And I was like, okay, good, he's got him. And then he just took off running again. I was like,
yeah,
damn it, Nolan, like, come on.
yeah, yeah. But like Nolan's always the one, because Nikki and I talked about this last week or like last episode. Nolan's always the one to like get the guy. Like,
Yeah,
especially when it's like a bigger case and like he has nothing to do with it. Um,
yeah.
So then after they get Connor, randomly no one's like the name of the show was Copperfield. It's a police
Oh, that's what it
psychiatrist drama. And I'm like, no one would like just randomly say that. Like he was just
I didn't
randomly
catch that
blurting it
that's what it
out.
was. Oh my God, that's
And I
funny.
love that it was another police drama. I was like, yeah.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, it couldn't have been like a sitcom or anything. It was
No,
another police
of
drama.
course not.
Yeah. So Nyla towards the end goes into James's room and he's woken up and is groggy. But they have a really sweet moment and she's crying. This is the first time that we've ever really seen Nyla like cry. It
Yeah,
is
I
the
mean, in
first time.
terms of like a direct emotional like event that's affecting her.
Yeah.
I mean, because she's had like some emotions like at other times, but not quite this dramatic for
Yeah.
her
Yeah.
own sake, I think.
I think I tweeted last night, like, I feel like this is a side of Nyla that we've definitely never seen. And it makes her feel more human to
Yeah.
us. So she tells James that the doctors said that his surgery went well, and they're cautiously optimistic about his recovery. And he apologizes for everything, tells her about the kiss, and she shuts him down, saying it's not the time. And he's like, no, it is the time. And he tells her that he loves her, he's so sorry, he would never hurt her, all of this. And she's like, I know we're good. And I'm glad that he didn't like back down and wasn't like,
Hmm.
okay, like we'll talk about this later. He was like,
Yeah.
no, we're talking about this now. And it's just a really nice moment. And so Connor confessed everything. Kelsey's been fully exonerated. And Eckert is like, I couldn't be happier to have this whole thing behind us. Like, we all just
Uh-huh.
wanted the same thing, a justice
I'm
system.
like, I call bullshit.
Yeah, I was like,
Like right there.
you need to leave because you're just two-faced right now. And she's like, yeah, we all just wanted a justice system that treats everyone equally. Listen, I'm not denying that we all want that, but like you went about it in a totally bad way.
Mhm.
Like, come on. And then now you're just going to sit here and be like this. So Wesley and Gray are speechless and, question that it had nothing to do with her campaign. And after she walks out, Wesley's like, God, I really hope she doesn't win. I'm like, dude, same, same.
Yeah.
But I know you really don't want her to win because she would be your boss. So, yeah.
Mhm.
So Gray's like, I'm going home. I'm getting some sleep. And Wesley's like, can I join? Angela's never gonna forgive me for keeping that kiss a secret. I might need to sleep on your couch. And Gray's like, chill. It was 2 hours at most.
Right.
And Wesley's like, she's very strict. I'm like, yeah, I would like to see them kind of fighting about that a little bit more, like bickering, because now is the time. You can bicker about that. It's fine. But I'm
Yeah.
just like, yeah, I don't know. Wesley, like, it was just kind of weird. If you want to be like that, go talk to Tim or whoever. Like Gray's. Yeah, I don't know. But I love how Gray was like, it was 2 hours at the most. Like, you're fine. You're fine. And Gray's
Yeah.
like, I'd offer you my couch, but I don't want to. So another classic Gray line.
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
Yeah, yeah. So Nolan comes in and Gray tells him that Eckert's not pursuing charges and he's reinstating Harper effective immediately. And so Nolan's like, I'm on my way to the hospital to pick up Bailey. And he asks if it's okay if he tells Harper. And like the scene to come was sweet. Like I'm not denying that. It was a great scene. But I'm like, isn't that the job of her boss? Is to like reinstate her? Why are
Yeah,
you stepping
I
in?
guess.
I
Yeah.
mean, I guess he's her union rep, so like, I don't know, there might be like a part of that that would happen for him, but I'm like, I feel
I
like that's
guess I
Gray's
didn't think
job.
of that. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, I feel like that's just Gray's job. And you're just like, let me step in and do this. But okay. They do have a really sweet scene though. Like, I'm not gonna
Yeah, it was
deny
really
that.
nice.
So, he checks in. James is gone, like out of the hospital. But at first I didn't catch that he was going to get x-rays. And I'm just like, so
Yeah.
this man just like gets up and leaves, huh? And
I
like
know, like,
Nyla's sitting
where'd he
right there.
go?
But then on the second rewatch, I was like, oh, okay, okay, okay. He's going to go get x-rays. All right. So he gives Nyla her service weapon and badge back, and he's like, I gotta get something off my chest. And right then I'm like, oh my God, we're really doing this again. So he tells her about the kiss, and she's like, I already knew. Like Eckerd threw you under the bus. And Nolan's like, his face is just like brain broken, like in
Yep.
there. And she's like, the guilt was just radiating off of you. And Nolan starts over apologizing, and Nyla's like, I get it. I get it. And he just like, you can tell he wants to keep talking, and Nyla's like, no, just stop. And Nolan's like, so are you guys good? And Nyla's like, yeah, I believe him. Like. And Nolan is like, great. It was really weighing on me. Yeah, he was having a really rough time with that. Like, come on. Come on. That's not, no, it's not about you at this moment.
Well, I love how
So,
he even like kind of admitted that though too, because he was like, "Wait, it's not really about me." But
yeah.
that was really tough for me. I was like, "All
Yeah.
right,
I'm like,
fine."
you're even saying that it's not really about you, but you're making it about you. Like,
Yeah.
I get it.
I mean, maybe it was supposed to come across as like self-deprecating. It just didn't really like
Yeah.
get there. I don't
Yeah.
know.
And I like Nolan. Like, I stand up for him. He's fine. But there's been times lately where I'm just like, dude, you need to just learn when to just sit back, you know? So he tells her that she is his hero and that it's not just because she's gotten him out of some tough spots, but there's no one better as a cop, a mom, and a human. And she's had a hell of a day. And he hates that he was in any way a part of that, which I had to like go back and listen to that a few times because like I thought I misheard that. And I was like, okay, like he's apologizing for, kind of adding to the trouble. But I'm like, you still made it about you. I don't know. I mean, yes, he did have a part of it, but I don't know. I was just like, okay. So before he goes to leave, she walks over to give him a hug and thanks him. And like I've seen people pointing this out like all day and even last night. Like she's always denied anytime he's been like, can I give you a hug? Can I like give you advice? Anything like that. She's always denied that. And now like she's finally letting it happen and like letting him
Yeah.
in a little bit. So
Well, I think so. It's like on her terms. Like she chose it, so it's like
yeah.
she's able to just like really let that
Yeah. Well,
go.
and she was going through a hard time too. Like, it's fitting that, he's there to kind of give her comfort and she's willing to accept it. So
Yeah. She got all the hugs last night.
yeah,
So,
she did. Lucy, Wesley.
yep.
We didn't
No
see
one.
Angela and Nyla, which I feel like that was a missed opportunity,
Yeah.
but it's okay. Hopefully next week, you
Yeah.
know. Maybe Wesley and Angela go by the house with their children, Jack and Emmy,
Super fun.
and like visit, and just like check in. I hope so. That
That'd be
needs to
cute.
happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So that's about it for all the James and Nyla stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't expect James to be like up and walking around the first episode back, but I kind of hope not. Like, let's let them take it a little easy. They've had
Hmm.
a rough season so far, like James
Yeah.
and Nyla both, but they're
Hmm.
both killing it. So,
Yeah.
so then we go over to Celina's first case and then the Bailey stuff.
Hmm.
So Gray and Nolan are walking down the hall, like after, talking with Nyla and stuff. And they see Bailey coming in, and Gray's like, I gotta go talk to Nyla. Or like it's when they get, kind of all the details on everything.
Hmm.
And Gray's like, I gotta go talk to Nyla. And so giving John the chance to catch up with Bailey, who does not look very good, and she seems out of breath. She then passes out and falls into his arms. And so they get her a wheelchair. And I love how he was like, Bailey? Like he like questions it. I'm like, her eyes are clearly closed and she's passed out. Like she's not gonna like wake up and answer you. So they get her into a wheelchair and Celina sees Bailey and John in the hall. She's like, what happened? And John's trying to be funny and dramatic about it. And I'm like, not now. He's like, oh, she almost died. I'm like, I don't think that's funny to joke about in this episode. Like I really don't.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose. Yeah, I didn't really think of it in the context of that episode, but
Yeah.
yeah,
I don't know.
with everything else.
He's got a way of trying to be funny and stuff, and like sometimes it works, and other times I'm like, read the room a little bit, but okay. And Bailey's like, I was dehydrated. And John corrects her and is like, she was dangerously dehydrated. Celina's like, need I remind you you're an EMT? Like you should know better. And Bailey's like, well, there was a lot going on, and there's still a lot going on. And I'm like, why are we sitting here treating Bailey like she's a 7-year-old? Like throughout all of this, Like she's got a busy job. So she questions why they're even at the hospital or why they're like even right there. Like John is supposed to be with Gray and Celina's like, go, like I got this. And John does more overprotecting, as if she's not a grown woman. And like I get it, but it's still just kind of weird. Like, I don't know. It's just weird at times. And so Bailey and Celina talk a little bit more about the shooting and Celina's headspace and she's hard on herself for going over to Kylie first and she was in worse shape and so she started just helping her, and Bailey reminds her that that's what she's supposed to do. And Celina is like, but James is one of us. Like, if he dies because of those seconds that I was with Kylie and not him, like, And she kind of trails off, and Bailey's like, when you're in these types of situations, you think about every single second and like you rethink every tiny move that you made. And she reassures her that she did the right thing. And so I've really loved the relationship between Bailey and Celina. Like it's really a nice, like kind of big sister, little sister dynamic in a way. So Bailey's sitting in the hall still. She's just like chilling, like waiting on her IV bag to finish. And some young guys start talking to her and kind of hit on her. I don't know. They were their own special kind. Um,
Mm.
and so the one with the bandage is like, yeah, we were caught in that wildfire. And he's like, I'm just trying to get some oxy so that we can bounce. And the one on the bed apparently has nausea, like from smoke inhalation, but his oxygen levels are fine. So Bailey's flags are up and she's like, something's up with these two. So she gets up and she goes to meet like with Celina, who I appreciated it when she was like, I didn't want to hover, but I was coming back to check on you. And Bailey tells Celina about the two guys and, asks her to look into them. And she's like, it's my first cases of P2. I'm gonna go look at their labs and have narcotics enforcement take them down. Um, and I was just like, yeah, like you go. And also you don't have anyone there to help you. Like, does anyone else know that she's like doing all of this? I would hope so. So Celina walks back into the room that these two guys are in, and they ask when the doctor is coming with their meds. And she's like, well, we ran samples on your burns, and it's positive for a byproduct of cooking meth. And she's like, I'm gonna have to arrest you for manufacturing a controlled substance. And the guy who's able to talk is like, oh no, no, we didn't make anything. We just robbed them. Well, the guy who's in the hospital bed, unable to really do anything, like starts having problems and like falls out of the bed. And so Selena's talking to the doctor about these guys and looking at their x-rays that show money in his body. And after the doctor walks out, Selena like recaps all of this. And it turns out they've knocked over a meth lab, taken the cash, accidentally spilled chemicals on themselves, leading to the burns. And she's like, but why stick money up like your body?
Yeah.
And they were like, the one guy who's like been talking the entire time, he's like, well, we heard sirens and panicked. And, he also has
Yeah.
money in him. I'm like,
Hmm.
okay. I feel like it would have taken more time to stuff money in cavities of the
True.
body than like just put it in your pockets. But I guess if you're running, it
Lord,
could
I
fall
don't
out.
know. I don't know what goes through people's minds
I
that
don't either.
that
Like
ends up
I'm just kind
happening.
of like, that's gotta just be weird. I don't know.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so Celina's walking through the station with the money, like as far as she can carry it. Like she's literally like, I'm not touching this. Um, and John congratulates her for making two arrests on her first felony pinch as a P2, which again, she did it all by herself. Like, it's not
Right.
even like she had Lucy there as help or anything.
Yeah.
So Nolan tells Celina that Kylie's gonna pull through and James is okay. Celina walks away and she's like, 2 weeks in, and I'm already the best P2 ever. And John's like, nobody said that. And she's like, it's all in subtext for me.
Right.
And
It's like let her have her moment, John.
yes,
Like the heck.
yeah, yeah, she had Bailey help her with this case in a way, but like the girl did it all by herself.
Right.
I'm wondering if Gray even knew that she was like solving the case by herself. Like, I mean, he had to have, but so I'm just like the confidence in her, like is strong. So Bailey at the end of the episode is getting wheeled out of the hospital and she's like, oh, I'm good. Like I can walk. And John's like, oh no, I'm not doing this because I'm worried. I'm doing this to keep an eye on the competition. And they like go back and forth with flirting. And I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know if this was needed, but okay. So he
Hmm.
tells her that he heard that she busted a meth lab from her hospital bed. And she's like, well, it was mostly Celina. Yeah, it was mostly Celina. Bailey just kind of gave her the intel. And she's like, I think that qualifies for a police pension and one of those badges that I can flash when I get pulled over. Yeah, she's been moonlighting as the police for a few episodes now. I think she could probably get that pension, but also, so they banter a little bit more about her getting pulled over and if it happens frequently, and that's about it. So I'm just kind of like, all right, I guess we have our Balin moment
Hmm.
episode or a
Yeah.
couple, but
I
yeah,
mean, I will say I related to her and like not wanting to be wheeled out of the hospital in
yeah,
a wheelchair. I was like that too. I was like, do I really have to do this? This is like obnoxious.
yeah,
But they're like, I don't know. It was just like kind of an awkward like ending
hmm,
to the episode,
yeah,
like overall. Um, Especially since it like came after the like hug moment, and I was
yeah,
like, that would have been nice to end on. I mean, like I get it, but like it wasn't the worst thing to end on. But
yeah.
also, I was just kind of like, yeah, like I
Like
could
we
have done
didn't
like,
really need this moment.
yeah, like done without it.
So I'm glad that Celina was able to solve this case and everything like by herself. Like I'm glad that she did. And I'm glad that we
Yeah,
got to see it. But I'm also just kind of like, I don't think we really needed this case in this episode.
probably not.
Like I feel like there was just so much going on. And I felt like that with the Chenford stuff too, where it was like, there's just so much going on. Like I feel like we could have really focused on the James stuff more if there was more to focus on. I don't know. But
No,
yeah, I was just kind of like, okay. I feel like we could have like delved more into Nyla's feelings. Like what was
yeah,
running through her head with all of that. So,
yeah. Instead of like having so many people like confront her with things and just like tell
yeah.
her a bunch of stuff, and I was like, okay, let's see how she actually feels about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
Especially because she's been so busy anyway with Glasser. Like, I mean,
Right.
we heard, that she couldn't remember the last thing she told James. Like, I would have liked to see more of her mental state and been like, okay, if he does not make it, like, I have to find a new job because I've got like two kids that I have to take care of. And then, like, still checking with his boys, I'm sure, and just kind of like see her not spiral with it, but just kind of like think more things out. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, maybe it'll come later. I don't know. He's fine now, so maybe not. But yeah. So last up, we have Chenford with Shirley. And I know that this storyline was part of the whole like Connor stuff, but yeah, it
Right.
was just kind of like, okay, we got it.
Yeah.
It was small doses of Chenford, which was great, and like we needed
Right.
that. But besides that, so Chenford's driving and Lucy asks Tim if he remembers when they danced at their wedding, which hello, that's such a great Chenford moment, like right there. So
Right.
so he's like, of course I do. He wouldn't forget that. Like he wouldn't. And he's
No.
like, yeah, I remember the dress. And like he can't get words out. So she laughs and she's like, the sleeves? And he's like, I was gonna say the shiny stuff. I'm like, no, you were gonna
Such a
talk
guy
about the
though.
back. You were gonna
Such
talk
a
about
guy.
the back of the dress. Just
I mean,
just come out with it. And I'm like, the shiny stuff, like, come on. I know you're a boy. I know you're a very pretty boy, but like
So
you can call
funny
it sequins. It's fine. Or, you know. And so he's like, you looked amazing though. And like he looks at her and she's looking away. And I'm just like, small doses, small doses. And
though.
then we focus on her reaction, and I'm like, that was everything. That was all that I needed for Chenford in that moment. So they then get a call from dispatch with an update about Connor's vehicle and have to start following him. But they want to like, kind of pull back because they don't want him to spot them and make a run for it. But then he ends up doing that. And so they call for more backup. And as they get a visual on him, Tim's like, we got to close in the distance. And they make a turn following him, but then have to like make the epic stop. And because they
They
see,
did that a couple times.
yeah.
A
Yeah. And
little
it was
bit.
like,
Like, goodness.
it was almost like from an action movie, like when they're
Yeah.
like in a car chase scene and like have to, turn around. Um, but they have to stop because they see a group of civilians in the street. And I love how Lucy like kind of leaned forward in her seat and like held on to Tim's bicep. At least that's what it looked like. I don't know, it cut so quickly.
I mean, yeah, she definitely like had to like actually physically tap him to be like,
Yeah.
you need to slow down.
Yeah. Um so so like the older woman has a broken leg and they're administering first aid and getting her into an ambulance and everything. And like they end up just taking her to the hospital themselves because waiting for an ambulance would have just been too long. And Lucy's like, I wonder how Gray's gonna react when we have to tell him that we had Connor in our sight and then lost him. And Tim's like, maybe lead with we saved an old woman's life. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Um,
Yeah.
so Chenford meets Shirley's quote unquote daughter, who is Sylvia, at the reception desk from the at the hospital. And they give her an update, and she's like, they're like, Shirley was able to be resuscitated, and they had to put her on a ventilator, but they're pretty convinced that like she won't survive once she's removed off of it. Um, so Sylvia mentions like the DNR and she's like, I have all of her medicines. And so they're watching Sylvia sit by Shirley's bed. So we get a like mini Chenford elevator moment and they walk out like the other side of the elevator to see Shirley's real daughter, Heather. And Lucy starts to mention the sister, and Heather's like, who? Like, I'm the one and only daughter. And so they walk back into Shirley's room to find Sylvia taking Shirley's ring off. And she's like, I'm not robbing her. Like I was taking what I was owed. I put up with her for the last 7 years. Like she's hit me, she's spit on me, all of this. And Tim's like, give me the rings. And, take like the caregiver mentions that the daughter hasn't shown up to the hospital like the last few times she's been in there. So Lucy arrests the caregiver, which I couldn't figure out why like Tim didn't just do that. But then he like walked over to the other side of the room. And so, Tim's like, or Heather tries to take the rings back and he's like, no. But if she passes away, then like, they'll go up for auction or whatever with the rest of her belongings. And so Chenford's walking through the station at the end of the day and he asks Lucy if she's processed Sylvia, the caregiver. And Lucy kind of talks about it a little bit. And she's like, I agree with Sylvia. Like, she deserved the ring. The entire time I was processing her, like, that's all she could talk about was the treatment that she had to endure. And so Tim shares that he got off the phone with Shirley's lawyer and she left Sylvia an entire fortune in the will, um, which is pretty good for a caregiver. And so he asks Lucy if she's headed home, but she says she's going to pick up some food and head to the hospital. And he assumes that she's going to go sit with James and Nyla, but she's actually going to go sit with Kylie because the whole station is rallying around James and Nyla, and she doesn't think that Kylie has anyone, which is very nice of her,
Yeah.
considering like the entire situation. And like James, yes, was in the wrong place at the wrong time, but like I don't know. It just kind of snowballed. And Tim tells her in a joking manner that she really needs to cool it with the compassion. She's making the rest of them look bad. And she's like, it's not a competition, but I am winning. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, Yeah, you know what? These two, like, they can just keep up the banter. Like, I'm good with that. I'm good. Yeah. So that's about it for the episode. It was a good one. It was
Mhm.
a good one. It was a good one to like come back with.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so we didn't really have any listener thoughts. That's cool. But yeah, that's it. We're back. We're back, baby. You're back.
Mhm.
The show's
Yeah.
back. We're doing it. We are back, as in that TikTok
Yeah.
sound. So yeah, you can find us on Twitter at the Shop Talk Pod underscore or email us at shoptalktherookiepodcast@gmail.com with all of your thoughts. You can find us individually on Twitter as well. I'm at jstark804
And I'm at Carrie Harmon.
and we're on TikTok at the Shop Talk Podcast. We also have merch. TeePublic has changed their platform, so you can find our merch now at shop-talk.dashery.com. So yeah, be sure to check out all of our merch there. And we'll be sure to share that on Twitter as well. All of our links are updated, like in our little link tree thing. So you can find us there. But we have all of our merch designs and there's gonna be more coming for sure. But yeah, that's about it for us this week. We'll be back next week to discuss 710. Bye everyone.
Bye, guys.
Go get him, boo.